The first simple money tip is tracking every dollar honestly, because financial awareness is the foundation of every strong money system. Most people dramatically underestimate how much money disappears every month because spending has become automatic, emotionally instead of intentional, operationally. Small purchases rarely feel dangerous individually. A coffee here, fast food there, a delivery app after work, a subscription renewal, a random online purchase. None of those transactions feel financially destructive in the moment, but repeated consistently over months and years, they quietly destroy future flexibility. This is why many people earning decent incomes still feel financially stressed constantly. Their money disappears through small, repeated leaks they barely notice consciously. Financial awareness changes behavior immediately because spending becomes visible instead of emotional. Once someone clearly sees where money is actually going, unnecessary spending becomes much harder to justify emotionally. Start separating every expense into categories like bills, debt, food, convenience spending, subscriptions, entertainment, emotional purchases, savings, and investing. This process immediately exposes patterns most people never fully recognize. Many consumers discover hundreds of dollars disappearing monthly through convenience and emotional spending alone. Another important lesson is understanding that repeated small expenses often create more long-term damage than occasional large purchases because they become normalized behavior emotionally. Most people react strongly to a large unexpected bill but barely notice recurring small purchases draining cash flow constantly. Wealthy individuals usually monitor cash flow carefully because awareness protects future flexibility. Another major benefit of tracking spending is reducing financial anxiety. Uncertainty creates stress because people fear what they do not understand. But awareness creates clarity. Clarity creates control. Control creates confidence. Confidence reinforces discipline. Tracking money is not about punishment. It is about understanding reality clearly enough to make intentional decisions instead of emotional ones. Most financial progress begins the moment someone stops avoiding their numbers and starts facing them honestly. The second simple money tip is automating positive financial behavior immediately, because systems outperform motivation long term. Most people rely on willpower to save money, reduce spending, or improve financial habits. But motivation disappears quickly during stressful periods, emotional exhaustion, emergencies, or busy seasons of life. Systems continue functioning even when emotions fluctuate. Wealthy individuals understand this deeply. That is why they automate positive financial behaviors aggressively instead of manually fighting financial decisions emotionally every month. Automatic savings transfers, automatic investing, automatic bill payments, and automatic debt reduction create consistency while reducing emotional decision-making dramatically. One of the most powerful financial shifts someone can make is paying themselves first before lifestyle spending expands. Average consumers usually spend emotionally first and save whatever remains afterward. Wealthy individuals often reverse this process completely. Savings, investing, and ownership happen automatically the moment income arrives, while lifestyle adjusts afterward. This single behavioral difference compounds dramatically over time. Another important principle is that even small automated transfers matter because consistency compounds. Many people delay saving or investing because they believe small amounts are meaningless. But disciplined systems repeated consistently often outperform larger emotional financial decisions made inconsistently. Another major benefit of automation is reducing internal financial conflict. Many people constantly feel guilt, stress, anxiety, and frustration around money because every financial decision requires emotional energy. Automation removes much of that pressure because the process becomes operational instead of emotional. Another important lesson is reducing friction for positive behavior while increasing friction for negative behavior. Make saving easier. Make investing automatic. Make emotional spending more difficult. Wealthy individuals often design financial systems intentionally because systems survive difficult emotional periods better than motivation alone ever will. Financial success usually comes from building structures strong enough to continue functioning even when discipline feels difficult temporarily. Automation turns wealth building from emotional effort into operational consistency. The third simple money tip is reducing emotional spending aggressively, because most financial problems are behavioral before they are mathematical. Many people do not spend money logically. They spend emotionally. Stress spending, boredom spending, loneliness spending, insecurity spending, convenience spending, and reward spending quietly destroy financial progress over time. Shopping often becomes temporary emotional relief instead of intentional decision-making. Someone feels stressed after work, overwhelmed financially, emotionally exhausted, frustrated, or discouraged, and spending creates a short burst of comfort or distraction temporarily. But that emotional relief fades quickly, while the financial pressure remains afterward. This creates a dangerous cycle, where emotional discomfort leads to spending, and spending creates future stress. One of the best ways to reduce emotional spending is implementing a 24-hour rule for non-essential purchases. Every unnecessary purchase must wait at least 1 day before approval. Larger purchases should require 48 hours or longer. Emotional intensity fades over time, allowing logic to return. Most impulse purchases disappear completely once emotional urgency weakens. Another powerful strategy is increasing friction between emotion and spending. Remove stored payment methods from websites. Delete shopping apps. Unsubscribe from marketing emails. Disable one-click purchasing systems. Use physical cash for emotional spending categories whenever possible, because cash creates psychological awareness. Credit cards and digital spending often disconnect people emotionally from money leaving their accounts. Another important lesson is learning emotional triggers honestly. Many people never examine why they spend. They simply react automatically. Wealthy individuals usually separate happiness from consumption more effectively because they understand purchases rarely create lasting fulfillment. Another major issue is social comparison. Social media constantly creates dissatisfaction by promoting unrealistic lifestyles and exaggerated success. People begin spending emotionally to maintain appearances or reduce insecurity instead of building actual financial security. Real financial progress usually begins once someone stops using spending as emotional coping and starts using money intentionally to create future freedom instead. The fourth simple money tip is protecting cash flow aggressively, because recurring obligations quietly destroy financial flexibility over time. Most people underestimate how dangerous monthly payments become, because financing and subscriptions feel manageable individually. A phone payment here, a furniture payment there, streaming services, subscription apps, vehicle upgrades, financing electronics, delivery memberships. None of these obligations feel catastrophic independently, but together they quietly consume future income before it is even earned. This is one of the biggest reasons many high earners still feel financially trapped constantly. Their obligations expanded alongside their income automatically. Wealthy individuals usually think differently about recurring expenses because they understand every fixed payment reduces future freedom slightly. Lower obligations create flexibility during emergencies, career changes, economic downturns, or unexpected financial pressure. Another important lesson is understanding that financial freedom is often determined more by how little someone requires monthly than by how much someone earns. Someone earning a moderate income with low obligations may feel far more financially stable than someone earning a high income buried under recurring payments. Another major issue is lifestyle inflation. Many people increase spending immediately. Every time income raises become larger apartments, newer vehicles, financed purchases, convenience upgrades, and luxury spending instead of stronger savings or investing systems. Wealthy individuals often reverse this process intentionally. They increase ownership before increasing lifestyle. Another important principle is distinguishing between productive obligations and destructive obligations. Some expenses create future opportunities or income growth. Others simply create future stress for temporary comfort. Protecting cash flow means reducing unnecessary financing, eliminating subscriptions that no longer provide value, simplifying recurring expenses, and avoiding emotional purchases tied to monthly payments. Cash flow creates freedom because lower obligations increase options. More options reduce stress. Reduced stress improves decision-making. This is why wealthy individuals usually prioritize flexibility over appearances. Real financial security is often invisible externally because it comes from stability, resilience, and reduced dependency rather than visible consumption. The fifth simple money tip is building an emergency fund immediately, even if the amount starts small, because financial stability changes psychology dramatically. Many people remain trapped in constant financial stress because every unexpected expense becomes an emotional crisis. A car repair, a medical bill, reduced work hours, an appliance failure, a family emergency. Without emergency reserves, small problems become catastrophic emotionally because there is no financial buffer protecting stability. This constant financial fragility creates anxiety, stress, panic thinking, and poor decision-making. Even a small emergency fund changes that psychology significantly because emergencies stop feeling completely overwhelming. Wealthy individuals usually prioritize emergency reserves early because stability improves long-term decision-making dramatically. Another important lesson is understanding that financial peace often matters more than visible luxury. Many people appear financially successful externally while living one emergency away from crisis internally. An emergency reserve creates breathing room psychologically. Options create confidence. Confidence reduces fear. Reduced fear improves financial behavior because people stop making panic-driven decisions constantly. Another major mistake many consumers make is believing emergency savings only matter once income increases substantially. But consistency matters more than perfection. Saving the first $100 matters psychologically because it creates momentum. Momentum reinforces discipline. Discipline compounds over time. Another important principle is protecting emergency savings emotionally. Emergency funds are not designed for vacations, emotional spending, or impulse purchases. They exist to protect stability during unexpected situations. Another major lesson is understanding that financial freedom usually begins quietly through reduced stress rather than dramatic wealth immediately. Someone with emergency reserves sleeps differently because uncertainty becomes less dangerous emotionally. Another critical factor is automation. Automatic transfers into emergency reserves build consistency while reducing emotional temptation to spend. Most financially successful people did not suddenly become disciplined after becoming wealthy. They built stability gradually through repeated habits long before major financial growth appeared externally. Emergency reserves create the foundation strong enough to support future investing, ownership, and long-term wealth building later. The sixth simple money tip is investing consistently and thinking long-term, because earned income alone rarely creates lasting financial freedom. Most people trade time directly for money their entire lives, but time and energy are limited. Investing changes the equation because money itself begins producing additional money independently over time. Many people delay investing because they believe they need large amounts of money before starting. But consistency matters more than perfection. Small amounts invested regularly over many years often outperform large emotional investing decisions made inconsistently. Another critical principle is understanding compound growth. Investments generate returns, and those returns begin generating additional returns over time. In the beginning, progress feels slow and unimpressive. Small investments rarely look life-changing immediately. But eventually compound growth accelerates dramatically because growth begins building on previous growth continuously. This is why wealthy individuals often prioritize patience heavily. They understand real wealth building usually appears invisible before becoming obvious later. Another major issue is emotional investing. Many people panic during market declines and become reckless during financial excitement. Fear causes panic selling, excitement causes emotional risk-taking. Wealthy individuals usually remain disciplined because they understand markets move in cycles, while long-term ownership continues creating growth over time. Another important lesson is ignoring financial noise. Headlines constantly create fear, urgency, and emotional reactions because emotional attention generates engagement. But financially successful people usually focus on systems instead of reacting emotionally to temporary headlines. Another major principle is ownership. Wealthy individuals prioritize owning assets capable of producing future income because ownership creates flexibility, while endless consumption creates dependency. Another important lesson is that investing should support life goals instead of replacing them entirely. Money itself is not the goal. Freedom is the goal. Investing creates future options, reduced stress, increased flexibility, and long-term peace of mind. Real wealth building usually happens gradually through disciplined investing, repeated consistently over many years. The seventh and most important money tip is focusing on consistency instead of perfection, because most people fail financially after making mistakes emotionally. Many consumers believe one bad month ruins all progress. They overspend once, miss savings goals temporarily, or face unexpected financial setbacks and immediately feel discouraged. Wealthy individuals are usually not perfect financially. They simply recover quickly from mistakes instead of quitting emotionally. One difficult month does not destroy long-term progress unless someone stops entirely. Another major lesson is understanding that discipline creates momentum gradually. Savings grow slowly before accelerating later. Debt shrinks slowly. Investments compound slowly before becoming significant. Stress decreases gradually as stability improves. But eventually, those small repeated habits begin changing someone's entire financial future permanently. Another important principle is understanding that wealth building is usually boring operationally. Most financially successful people are not making dramatic emotional decisions constantly. They are repeating simple systems consistently over long periods of time. They automate savings. They invest regularly. They reduce unnecessary spending. They avoid destructive debt. They protect cash flow. They focus on ownership. Those behaviors appear unimpressive daily, but become extraordinary over decades because consistency compounds. Another critical lesson is avoiding comparison. Social media constantly promotes unrealistic lifestyles and exaggerated success stories. Many people begin feeling financially behind, even while making responsible decisions. Wealthy individuals usually remain focused on long-term systems instead of temporary appearances. Another important principle is protecting future flexibility aggressively. Financial freedom is ultimately about reducing dependency while increasing control over time. Lower obligations, stronger savings, increased ownership, and disciplined systems create resilience during difficult periods. Another major lesson is understanding that real financial progress usually begins quietly. Awareness improves first. Then discipline improves. Then spending becomes intentional. Then stress decreases gradually. Then investments begin compounding. Then financial flexibility increases. Most people stop too early because progress initially feels invisible. But consistency eventually changes everything. Real wealth is rarely built through perfection. It is built through disciplined systems, repeated long enough for compound growth to work. If this helped, then like and subscribe to The Daily Yield, because we're building real financial progress, one step at a time.